For the past year, it feels like we've been in the golden age of gaming. From Baldur's Gate 3, Power World, Helldivers 2, and with so many great games to play, there's never been a better time to buy a PC to enjoy all these awesome titles at their maximum graphic fidelity. Introducing StarForge. Fellas, we have been partnered with StarForge for over a year now, and they have been incredible at every level. The experienced builders over at StarForge meticulously craft every gaming PC by hand right in Austin, Texas. They also offer PCs for every budget, with financing options as well as a 2-year parts and labor warranty. And the best thing is, they ship incredibly fast. Fellas, I have dealt with PC companies in the past where after buying the PC, it would literally take 3 to 6 months before it even got shipped. Talk about a buzzkill. StarForge though, we got ours in less than a week. Everyone was coming by the stream while we were playing Dragon's Dogma 2 asking how in the world we were getting the frame counts that we were getting. Now I try to say it was a skill issue, but let's be real. It's because StarForge PC has the power to carry even in games that aren't exactly optimized. If you're looking to elevate your gaming experience, down below we'll have a link to StarForge's website. You can pick up your perfect PC today. And again, huge thanks to StarForge for being a partner on this channel. The other day we put out a review on Aisha's Care, which is the new Trials of Osiris pulse rifle. Now I enjoyed it, and despite a lot of people dogging on that weapon, I actually found it to be pretty good inside of PvP. However, I said that there was a better option when it came to PvE, which takes us to the raid pulse rifle Nullify. This is a solar heavy burst pulse rifle which can be acquired from the Salvation's Edge raid. It is craftable, it has great perk options, and it's in the brand new subfamily for pulse rifles called the Heavy Burst. Now if you're unfamiliar with this archetype, no worries. The only weapon up until now that was really within this archetype would be of course the Heavy Burst mode from Revision 0. Graviton Lance also falls within this category, as it technically is a 2-round burst pulse rifle. But this archetype is really brand new, as it's not just a hard-hitting 2-round burst archetype. You also gain slightly reduced flinching from incoming fire while aiming, which is why I really liked Aisha's Care inside of PvP. I get it though, a lot of people don't like it, but we ran the numbers, and inside of PvE, the DPS numbers are very high for this archetype, and Nullify on its own is a monster itself. Now let's go over these perks. In our third column, we have Firefly, Under Over, Demolitionist, Subsistence, 4 times the Charm, Heal Clip, and Rapid Hit. Then in our fourth column, we have Desperate Measures, Vorpal Weapon, Adrenaline Junkie, Multi-Kill Clip, Attrition Orbs, Chaos Reshaped, and Incandescent. And this weapon is absolutely stacked with perks, and good ones. And every single one of them can be enhanced. And yes, there will eventually be an adept version of this weapon that you'll also be able to roll with enhanced perks as well. But I want to start in column 4. Incandescent is the one that stood out to us the most. A phenomenal perk on so many solar weapons, and it reads, defeating a target spreads Scorch to those nearby. More powerful combatants and opposing guardians cause Scorch in a larger radius. Now this procs a solar explosion every single kill, dealing 1,448 damage to red bars and around the same against Carl. Now the explosion spreads 30 Scorch stacks to enemies within a 4-meter radius, and you can actually increase this to 40 stacks with Ember of Ashes. Now killing more powerful combatants or enemies will increase that radius even more. We're talking up to 8 meters. Now as for the enhanced version of Incandescent, this is even better, as it spreads Scorch stacks to 45 when we are using Ember of Ashes. For me guys, almost every solar weapon that can roll with Incandescent has pretty much always been my go-to choice. And the beautiful thing is the synergy that it has with our third column traits. But there is one more perk in column 4 that I believe is worth mentioning, and that is the new perk Chaos Reshaped. This is the raid exclusive perk for this weapon set only. Chaos Reshape reads, this weapon gains bonus damage while in combat for an extended time. Remaining in combat for even longer rewards a larger damage bonus and periodically heals the wielder. Now this perk works very similar to Frenzy, and after being in combat for 12 seconds, you'll activate ×1, giving you a 20% increase in damage for 7 seconds, which is already higher than Frenzy, but you do not get the increase in handling and reload speed that Frenzy grants. But then if you're in combat for 24 seconds, you'll activate ×2, and this is a 35% increase in damage, and its healing effect will activate roughly every 7 seconds, healing us for 40 HP. Now the enhanced version, from what we timed, will instead take 11.5 seconds to reach ×1 and 23 seconds to reach ×2. Overall guys, this is an excellent perk. It's essentially a souped up Frenzy. No kills required, just be in combat, whether that's dealing or receiving damage. You can imagine how good something like this can be in GM settings, where combat sequences seamlessly run from one to another. Now there are other damage perks if you didn't want to use this. You've got Multi-Kill Clip, where reloading grants increased damage based on the number of rapid final blows made beforehand. This can get all the way up to 50%. 10%, and it lasts for 5 seconds after killing 3 enemies within 3.5 seconds of each other. But as you know, you're not always going to get to ×3. And the max size is not that good here. Adrenaline Junkie is also present here, which is alright. But again, the 2 perks that really stand out to me, guys, is going to be Chaos Reshaped or Incandescent. And I know some of you are going to be like, Cross, what about Desperate Measures? Dude, my opinion, Chaos Reshaped clears Desperate Measures. Now on to column 3. We have a lot of great options and a couple perks that pair really nicely with Incandescent. First up, we have Firefly. Now this is a pretty rare perk to find on an energy weapon, although we have seen it on things like Zala's Bane, Doom of Chelkis, Vision of Confluence. But the reason why this is so rare is because this is the only weapon in the game that can roll with both Firefly and Incandescent. Now you may be prompted to bring up Tyranny of Heaven, but that has Dragonfly, not Firefly. Now the perk reads that precision kills with this weapon increases reload speed and causes the target to explode, dealing solar damage to nearby enemies. Now each precision kill is going to let off a solar explosion within a 4-meter radius, and is also going to grant you plus 50 reload speed for 6 seconds, which is really nice considering Nullify sits at a base reload of 45. Now we can also get the enhanced version of this perk, which grants us an additional plus 5 to reload speed. Now this explosion deals pretty nice damage. We were getting around 14,000 damage against red bars and around 6,000 damage against Carl. Now this explosion will also stack with Incandescent. For instance, against a red bar here, you can see the explosion going off, dealing 14,075 damage plus 1,448. And when breaking down and looking at our footage, if the Firefly explosion gets a kill, this will continue to reproc Incandescent, similar to what Dragonfly would do with Tyranny of Heaven. Because yes, you can get that Dragonfly Incandescent roll on Tyranny, and you can have that same chaining capability. But this perk combination of Firefly and Incandescent is great together, and the ad clip potential is pretty insane. And the other great perk to pair with Nullify is of course Heal Clip, where reloading shortly after dealing a final blow grants cure to you and your nearby allies. Now this will give you ×2 cure, which is 120 HP right back to yourself, and cure ×1 to nearby allies, which is 60 HP. One of my most used weapons is Heliocentric, and it can also roll with this exact same combination, that being Heal Clip and Incandescence. Not only is healing and Scorch great, but when you utilize a solar subclass, most notably things like Ember of Benevolence, Ember of Searing, Ember of Singeing, these all get massive bumps just from those perks. Now the enhanced version of this doesn't really do a whole lot, just increases the allowed time before reloading after a kill. But aside from these 2 perks, you've got Demolitionist, which is solid. You get that 10% grenade ability energy back on every kill, 11% for the enhanced version. Or if you find the lower mag size a problem for you, you can always rock things like Subsistence and 4 times the charm. Now as for the origin traits that is found on these raid weapons, this is called Collective Purpose, and it reads, gain bonus range and handling when near allies, bows receive faster draw time, and swords receive faster charge rates. The effect scales with the number of nearby allies. Now unfortunately I don't have a concrete number on this perk. We messed around with a little bit with the Raid Sword, and we definitely saw it in play. But for Nullify, at least inside of PvE, it doesn't really matter. You don't need more range, in my opinion. You're already sitting at 79 base. I will say though, the extra handling is something you're gonna notice, especially when you have 2 allies or more next to you. This is definitely something we're gonna be breaking down number to number to give you guys an accurate value on handling and range per ally that is close to you. Now, as far as my God Roll recommendation, this is one of those weapons where I wish I had a shiny version. And I guess in some ways, the Adept Roll can serve as that. As you know, there are multiple triumphs right now in the raid that you can earn, and this will net you the possibility of getting those Adept Rolls in the Master version of the raid with double traits in both columns 3 and columns 4. So in some ways, we are going to be getting a shiny variant of this pulse rifle. But in the short term, I would not blame you one bit for crafting 2 rolls of this weapon. I'm talking a Heal Clip Incandescent roll and a Firefly Incandescent roll, and maybe Chaos Reshaped as that other option if you're looking for that 35% increase in damage. But dude, the massive kabloomies that you can pull off with Firefly and Incandescent, but the healing capabilities that you can get with Heal Clip and Incandescent, it's just too good. There's so much synergy happening here. Personally, I actually like the kabloomies more. Like, I want to see more explosions, more chaining. I'm gonna wipe an entire room with just a few shots of my pulse rifle. And considering the ginormous buffs that pulse rifles received this season, you're gonna be able to easily do that with Nullify. It clears, guys. And when we compare this to DPS of our our other pulse rifles. This one clocking in at 16,547. Look how much higher it is than all of our other pulse rifle archetypes at base. So you really don't even need a perk buffing your damage. You're already starting at such a good level just at base that you can get away with a Firefly incandescent roll and completely commit to having the ultimate ad clearing pulse rifle. And on top of that, guys, in my opinion, I feel like this archetype feels way better than Revision Zero. Like Revision Zero is the OG, it's really the original. It has the ability to go between being a 4-round burst and a 2-round burst. And don't get me wrong, the 2-round burst is okay. But in my opinion, Nullify clears it in terms of just outright feel. This weapon feels good to use. And in my opinion, Nullify is one of the best weapons inside of PvE this season. Now, what about for PvP? Well, we talked about Aisha's care just the other day, and I liked it. Now, originally, I was going into this thinking that Nullify was going to be more of a PvE weapon and not really a PvP weapon. But guys, this thing shreds in PvP, and there are so many people that do not like this archetype in PvP. I love it. It may be my favorite pulse rifle archetype, at least for the time being. To me, it has incredible target acquisition. It duels well. You just have to maintain range. Even on maps that are like close range maps, you could still come out on top. And I'm actually really curious to know what the flinch is like on the opposing side, because it seems like a lot of people have a hard time combating taking fire from this archetype. Maybe it's due to the heavy burst frame itself, but regardless, Nullify here inside of PvP was doing really good. Now, unfortunately, we don't have all the trait combinations that Aisha's care has, but we got a couple good things. I've got rapid hits, I've got multi-kill clip, and that's essentially the combination that I utilize inside of PvP. I would have loved for Headseeker, but multi-kill clip does add a little bit of forgiveness and also drops that time to kill down to 0.8 seconds, which is pretty good. Base time to kill is 0.87 seconds. The main takeaway is the added forgiveness. At tier 6 resilience and below, it requires only 4 crits in 1 body. Tier 7 and tier 10, 5 crits in 0 body. It's little things like this, guys, that's gonna guarantee you that kill in 3 bursts. But in my opinion, it's such an easy weapon to land back-to-back crits on. For my PvP guys, please give this archetype a go. I feel like so many people are writing it off, and I really don't know why. And my only assumption is that maybe you're getting in duels that you shouldn't be in with this pulse rifle. This pulse rifle literally allows me to roach around the map. I'm like sitting out there with my damn near max range roll with almost 40 meters of range, and I'm just waiting for something to hop in my scope. Now, speaking of scope, we don't normally talk about this inside of PvE because it's like, okay, sights doesn't really matter. Dude, the sights of pretty much all these raid weapons are so nice. That single crosshair, it's simple but perfect for lining up shots. I am in love with all of the sights on the raid weapons. Now, one last thing I'm going to mention about this archetype. Inside of PvP, you've probably noticed many duels of mine going outside of damage fall off territory. You'll see me doing 42 damage per crit, and then sometimes dipping to 39 and 38. But notice that target acquisition still remains strong. This is something I noticed even on the Trials pulse. These weapons, despite running into damage fall off territory, is still able to hit back-to-back crits, which is amazing. That means even if you do dip outside of 40 meters, you're talking 41, 42, 43, you've got a pulse rifle that can still consistently land those crits. In my opinion, guys, I think Nullify is both a monster inside of PvE, but also this archetype in general is good inside of PvP. Don't write it off. Give it a go for yourself, and I promise it will treat you right. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.